Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Brendan McLaughlin.
I'm Mike Broad.
I'm Beth Stern.
And I'm Sonia Kopetsky.
All right, Beth, what's the scenario?
All right, Brennan, we have a problem with some wind that blew into somebody's koi pond. But not only the koi pond, this particular insured lives next to a farming operation. And they have their house, after the soil had been turned over, a huge windstorm blew in the area on this newly tilled farm. And so this brought lots of dust and dirt that covered all over the dwelling, the garage, and also the insureds had a koi pond, they had a pool, and a lot of their lawn and landscaping was also damaged by this. So they had a lot of damage to their property, all caused by this whole inundation of dust that hit their property.
All right, that's going to be a really interesting scenario. But before we get to that, I had a little bit of trivia for you. I heard about how this claim came about because of a haboob, and I wanted to try a little bit of something different with trivia here today. I've got a little bit of this is a great thing to do in an audio medium. I've got a matching game here. So I've got 4 terms for wind: haboob, sirocco, shiguiha, and derecho. And I've got some facts about them, and can we match them up?
Okay.
One of these is notable for its straight line winds. One of these, just one, is not a meteorological term at all. One of them is not allowed, does not occur in North America, and the last one is defined by a towering wall of dust. So how much do we know about our types of different windstorms?
Okay, I think the haboob it's defined by a towering wall of dust.
I think that's a derecho.
Oh, geez.
I was going to say derecho, but I'm not sure. All I know about haboob is that it can occur. Usually, I think this came from the Middle East, more desert type of thing, but I think it's happening here in North America too. So I wouldn't rule that out.
I think derecho is straight line winds, but I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Maybe you're right there.
Do you guys know what sirocco is?
No.
It was the name of my pet hamster when I was a kid, believe it or not.
Okay.
Sirocco, yay.
What about, how did you say that other one, Brennan?
Shiguiha?
Yeah, I'm guessing that one doesn't occur in North America.
Ooh, Beth, yeah, I like the way you're going.
Or it's not a meteorological term. I wish I cannot say that word either.
Brennan, are you going to help us out here?
Sonia, you're 3 for 3, I gotta say. The derecho is our straight line winds. That is something we see come up for a few different claims out here. Like you mentioned, haboob does occur in North America, so it's actually Mike's hamster that's not allowed. That's specifically a dust storm that comes off northern Africa and heads into the Mediterranean. Shiguiha is a Irish for fairy wind, but that's just a dust devil. Not a meteorological term, not tied to any specific area. And the haboob is exactly what happened in this claim. It's a towering wall of dust. So,
yeah, we have been getting we've gotten a few coverage questions talking about a haboob, and we did have to look into that a little bit about what it is. And it seems like they happen mostly in Arizona, and it does happen during an actual storm. It's not just, something that, loose dirt blows. It comes in with the storm front and then really picks up all kinds of dirt and dust. Where
Chicago
I guess
had that recently, didn't we?
Yeah, there was one in the Midwest. Yeah,
it was like a haboob junior. It was not a wall, but it kind of just sat.
Right,
it was a gift from Iowa.
Yeah, right. Maybe
could be. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's what I was reading about those, is that they're, they are precipitated by these thunderstorms, and they're come by, really quickly. So it's like a sudden sort of thing that just, I guess that's why it's a wall, because it's just kind of coming at you.
Yeah, and in this case, I guess they had these newly plowed fields, and then this storm did come up, and then that's what precipitated what happened here, I think. And this wasn't just a little dust covering the next door neighbor's house. This is like things were just absolutely buried in dirt. Yeah.
All right, let's dive into this scenario then.
Oh boy.
Okay.
All right, so we've got some interesting facts here. Can you remind us what's the policy, or what coverage are we looking at?
Yeah, I may have neglected to do that. This is a standard HO3 type of policy. So you have coverage for your dwelling and other structures. So maybe we could just start there, talking about dust came and has to be cleaned off the house, but it also got into the dwelling. So we'll treat anything that happened inside under contents. But for now, we have the building and then also other structures. Those are both covered for open perils coverage. So as long as there's no exclusion, this should be covered for the building and for other structures. So there might have to be some major cleanup of maybe the siding. But then this insured also had a pool, which could be another structure. They also had a koi pond, which could be another structure. So I think, it's pretty clear you're going to have coverage for your building and your other structures. But I think one thing that insurers might kind of question here is they might say, well, there was no real direct physical loss to the building.
Where I was going,
you can
Beth,
just kind of clean it off. Yeah.
Right. Next time it rains, it's going to be cleaned off. And I have another question for you, Beth or Sonia. If I'm a koi and I live in my koi pond, would that not be my dwelling?
Oh, good one. Good one. Yeah.
Fish are not named insured.
Yeah, right.
I would need my own renter's policy or something.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, you should look into that.
Yeah, some kind of a dwelling policy.
Help me out, Beth. We got dirt.
Yeah,
that comes from next door.
We'll get to the koi later, but right now, so if dirt is just really heavily covering either your building or some of these other structures, whether it be a hot tub, whether it be a pool, in general, this would be considered direct physical loss if you have to do some kind of, having a cleaning crew come and actually, there's going to be scrubbing involved here and really removal of this dust. It's not something that's just going to go away with a little rain. So even though it didn't maybe dent the siding or it didn't do permanent damage, it can be cleaned. That doesn't mean there's not direct physical loss. And that's, I think, what kind of stumps people sometimes, thinking
kind of like smoke, right, Beth, or like soot damage, right? Like it takes a little bit of elbow. It's like it's more than just your standard cleanup. It's kind of exceptional effort.
Right. And they're going to have to spend some money getting some kind of crew in there to clean it up. So I think that would all come under the coverage you have for your building or your other structures. Now, that kind of does leave us, this insured had a little bit of unique property here in that they had the swimming pool and then they had the koi pond as well. So there is some question about things like, okay, you would actually clean the pool, but what about the water that's in the pool?
Well, I was interested to ask about that because, I think of other structures. I'm thinking maybe like a shed or something. Right. I'm thinking of something that's kind of, enclosed. If you start talking about a pond or a pool, they're like, concave. So I think, though, when we talk about damage to them, you talk about a shed, it's obviously you're talking about the damage to the outside of it. You're talking about a pool, I think what you're saying is damage to like the structure of the pool as opposed to the things inside of it, right? Even though the things inside of it are open to the air, right? Which is different from a shed, as long as you got the door closed. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Which brings us. We'll get to there later. But yeah. Right. And it's a little bit unique because you have water in a pool. You also have water in a koi pond, and one question that comes up a lot is whether the water itself is covered property. And in some cases, well, you know how much water's in that pool and you
paid to put that water in the pool, but is that covered, is that covered property? Well, in the HO form, there is, the policy has an exclusion or property not covered provision for water. So even though maybe the water is covered property in the sense that you can measure how much water was there and you paid to put that water in there, it's probably not going to be covered property because of a property not covered provision for water. So, right, you're right, Brennan. The structure itself, any damage that happened to the outside of any shed, and even the structure of the pool itself, I think all of those would be covered, but not so much the water that was in the koi pond or in the pool.
Now, here's a tricky thing, Beth. Let's say there was damage to the pool structure, and in order to get to it, we had to empty the pool.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that before, but perhaps if there is a cost involved in that, it might be that you can just drain it away and you don't incur any costs. But when you, if you have to do that to somehow clean this pool or repair the pool in some way, that probably could be covered as the cost, part of the cost of repairing the pool itself. So I think that's a good question, and that would be unique. And then we get into the question of then do you refill the pool even though the water's not covered property? So that's
for another podcast.
Yeah, we'll see
like maybe we got coverage to remove the water, but probably not to put it back in. That's not
maybe
not covered potentially.
Unless you call that as part of you can't repair the pool and put them back into the position. But yeah, let's not go too deep there.
All right.
Not too deep into that pool. Okay.
Let me add an endorsement.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
We're going to stay in the shallow end, Mike. Yeah.
All right, please.
Right. Yeah. Well, how about contents coverage? So we all know for coverage C, your personal property at your home, you have to have a named peril. And here we have windstorm. And I don't think there's any question. You guys, this seems like clearly fits within your windstorm peril.
I got a question though, Beth, because some of the damage went into the garage because the garage door was open, right? So isn't there some kind of clause in the policy that says, hey, the wind has to cause an opening that allows that stuff in? So with the dirt in the garage, would that not meet that definition? Or?
Yeah, well, so the dirt in the garage, and then even if, let's just say, somehow, if this was strong enough that even dust and dirt got inside the house, even if you didn't have an open door or window, it would be the same analysis, I think, because let's just say you have to clean your couch and maybe some of your furniture, draperies, that kind of thing. And then also, Mike, anything that might have been in like an open shed, that kind of thing. Well, yeah, the windstorm peril does say there isn't coverage for property contained in a building unless it first sustains damage by wind or hail, I believe it is. And then that has to create an opening through which the dust comes. Or it also applies to rain, snow, I think, hail, and dust or dirt.
I'd say sleet too. That's one of my favorite ones.
Sleet was that one there too. Yeah. Okay, yeah. But so kind of to go back to why that's in there, specifically this case where let's just say they left the garage door open, or let's say it goes back to if somebody leaves their window open or their door open and you have this bad rainstorm and it rains in there, well, they don't want to pay for, damage to your home when you left the window open. Because that's not, So only if there's been some kind of damage made to the roof or created an opening, it could be siding or something like that, then you're going to have coverage for the stuff inside the building. But let's just say you had some personal property out in your backyard, whether it's, I don't know, let's say they had some kind of trampoline out there, or I don't know, some other patio furniture, and they had their patio furniture out there with all these cushions, and they got, really dusty and had to be cleaned or replaced. That would be covered because there's no limitation for the windstorm peril for stuff that's outside, only stuff that's inside a building. I think it says building or structure. Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've got that open garage door and you've got one chair on the one side and the inside, and you got the other chair on the outside, you might get coverage for one and not the other.
Yeah, that's
Let's
true.
kind of look at it from my perspective, Brendan. If you covered like that dust that came in without an opening caused by the windstorm, every time my place got dusty, I'm going to hire a cleaner and then I'm calling my insurance carrier.
Are you filing a claim every 2 weeks?
Yes.
Which sometimes what happens when there's these, wildfire things and people get coverage for smoke damage.
Yeah.
They clean up the whole thing and then, the fire reignites and then they have to clean up again. So yeah, those things happen, but not here, not in this claim.
Now, see, I wanted to ask about the fish, because even though they're living animals, do they count as property? Do they? Because you would have had to buy them.
Yeah, well, they definitely are property, and they're personal property, and they're personal property owned by this insured, and so yeah, they're in the category of property that could be covered as personal property, but there is an exclusion in your you have your coverage C property, and there's all of these categories. There's some property not covered that's mentioned, and then there's also limitations, but under property not covered, it says animals. So there are some exceptions to that, but for the most part, animals are not going to be covered, and so I think the fish would fit there. So even if they choked to death on this dust or something, you're not going to get coverage for those here.
Bad.
Yeah.
But wait a minute, Beth. Is a fish an animal? A fish is a fish. Aha.
Good question.
Thank you.
Anybody look into that one? I don't know.
It's part of the kingdom, isn't it? I don't know, you guys. Now we're really.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think so.
Sorry. Yes.
I think animal covers all mammals and amphibians. And what's a fish? Reptile? No. What's
fish
a fish?
Is a fish.
It's a dinosaur.
Yeah,
that's a chicken.
Yeah, it's a chicken. It's a
technically, technically, it's all dinosaurs.
Yeah. Right.
It's basically a pond with a mosasaurus.
Right.
But that actually makes a lot of sense to me, because I feel like if you're thinking about personal property, you're wading into the valuation of animals. They've got sentimental value. They've got maybe a pedigree. They've got it suddenly introduced a lot of uncertainty into how you value those. So I could see why that would be in property not covered.
Right. And I think that's exactly what comes up a lot in these claims is, somebody has this dog that's, worth a lot of money, or mostly it's sentimental value. But on the other hand, something like koi, if you have a really mature, really big koi in your koi pond, some of those can be worth thousands and thousands of dollars.
Wow.
So I think that's not a risk. As I think you probably need some kind of endorsement to cover those fish.
Some kind of inland marine coverage or koi pond marine
or
coverage.
Some specific schedule for these. I don't know. I don't know how you get that, but
I'm sure there's an endorsement for everything.
I'm sure there is an endorsement.
Yeah, the koi pond endorsement. Yeah.
The only other thing is that if there was damage to their landscaping, like actually their lawn, or let's just say their bushes got so covered over with dust, that is something, the problem is that landscaping, trees, shrubs, and other plants, there is an additional coverage for that, but that is subject to named peril coverage. And there's only a very few limited number of perils that apply to damage to your trees, shrubs, and lawns, and windstorm is not. So I don't think there's going to be any coverage.
Is haboob mentioned specifically?
Yeah, exactly. I've never seen that in an insurance policy.
Yeah, no haboob coverage for landscaping, as far as I can see.
Maybe Arizona has endorsements for that.
Maybe if this happens a lot of times around where you live, you might be able to get something.
No.
Just, coverage for your trees, shrubs, and other plants is only an additional coverage. That doesn't come under A, B, or C. That's a separate entity altogether.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up with some key takeaways here. All right. So what can we take away from this scenario?
Well, windstorm is generally something that's covered, but there are going to be a few exceptions for, I think you're good on your dwelling and your other structures themselves. But if you have a personal property, you have to be sure anything that's in the house is only going to be covered for windstorm if you have an opening created by the wind. Or, and most animals are not going to be covered. Your landscaping is likely not going to be covered when you have a wind or dust storm. And debris removal is probably not covered either, because that only covers debris of covered property. And what the debris here was from your neighbor's, farm field, or and so that is not going to be. This isn't debris of covered property, so I don't think there's going to be any debris coverage here either. So for the most part, you're good on your other structures and your dwelling, but you have to dig a little deeper for your personal property.
All right. Dig under all that dirt.
Right.
All right. Mike, where can an adjuster go to learn more?
Well, Brennan, you can always go out, visit your friends at www.plrb.org. Check us out. If you go under the legal hub, I think you'll find, believe it or not, there is a test your coverage knowledge, TIKE as we call it here at PLRB, that deals with this exact scenario. Wind blew dirt on my koi fish. Believe it or not, it's there, plrb.org. There's also coverage questions. Heck, while you're there, run over to the education side. If we don't have anything specifically on dirt and koi fish, we got plenty of other cool stuff to look at. So, plrb.org. And Brendan, you'll be kind enough, of course, to share this in the show notes, I hope.
Yes, and there you'll also find a recap of the key points from this episode and links to our social media. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us, and please give us a call at 630-509-8704 and leave a voicemail to share your adjuster story. We'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation. Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.